Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hi, Larson.
And it's a very special day. It's Wednesday. That means Ask Going in Raw time. That's right. We have the questions from the Friendos over on the Patreon, patreon.com/Steve and Larson, or by clicking join on the YouTube, youtube.com/Steve and Larson, or if you just hang out during one of our live shows, you might get gifted a membership, and then you have access to the question thread for the special Wednesday Ask Steve and Larson. Today we got a slew of questions. We got a bunch of stuff coming up. Of course, Roman Reigns with his new title, the Forbidden Doors coming up.
Yes.
So we've got all sorts of stuff going on in the world of wrestling. So, Larson, what's our first question today?
Let's talk about none of those things to begin with. Let's talk about this question from Alex Foster. Alex asks, will fans eventually turn on Cody like they did in AEW? I mean, people really seem to like him for some reason, so I doubt it. But I did get me thinking. Steve, is the WWE Universe going to turn on Cody Rhodes?
No, of course not. He's only becoming more and more popular. His popularity will grow to such a degree that it'll be even more undeniable than he already is. I don't know. It's always possible if they fumble as creative, then sure. But they seem to be understanding what steps to take to ensure that doesn't happen. I mean, Cody, in my eyes, and I think in the eyes of a lot of people, comes off as both incredibly arrogant and yet humble at the same time, which is an interesting mix.
I mean, he did admit to not having godlike powers. So I guess in that sense, he's humble.
I mean, he's called himself the man several times.
Said Raw was his show.
Raw was his show, but a lot of people, make that claim. That's just confidence. People like confidence, but then, he also his central thesis is always like, I'm just here to honor my dad. It's a very humble thing. It's a very relatable thing. Like, I just want to honor my dad by winning the WWE title. I want to finish my story. It's a journey he's on, and who can't relate to that? I think the reason why people turn on him so hardcore in AEW is because, number one, he was management, and there was that weird sort of relationship between him and the fans where he stumbled creatively a couple times. I mean, his ill-advised I'm going to end racism promo is probably central to that. And I think he's even admitted to this, that management really wasn't his thing. I think more than any of the other EVPs, he really tried to do something, creatively speaking, that I think left him in an odd position with the crowd. Like, I'm going to write myself out of the world title scene. There was almost like a self-consciousness to his creative in AEW, because like he was writing it himself, but he's like, okay, how do I toe this weird line of people are here to see me because I'm part of AEW. I'm like the core group. I'm the reason why me and the Young Bucks and the Elite are the reason why we're here. But at the same time, like, we're also here to like get the company over. So how do I toe that line? And yeah, I just think that there was a lot of struggles there in AEW, and now that he doesn't have to deal with that, he had no problem evidently losing at WrestleMania. He was immediately put in a feud with Brock Lesnar, in which he's lost one of the matches there. And yet they still do the thing where, he's overcoming, the big adversity, the big A adversity thing that everybody wants him to do. I mean, you go back to Hell in a Cell and him busting out that torn pec, that gained a lot of goodwill with the fans. So as long as they don't fumble his creative, he'll be fine. If they keep the trajectory he's going, he'll be fine.
I feel like Cody made a lot of mistakes in his creative in AEW, and in WWE, it's just not him doing his creative, So it's kind of like when you have someone, I'll use the name Richard Kelly, the guy who directed Donnie Darko, where seemingly Richard Kelly has a lot of interesting ideas. It's putting those ideas together into a cohesive whole is the difficult part. And Cody kind of seemed that way in AEW. He immediately took himself out of the world title picture, even though he was one of the most over guys. That was a bad move. You listen to the crowd at All In or the First Double or Nothing, everybody in that audience loved Cody. Every single person sitting there. And to fast forward a couple years later, where he was getting mixed reactions, kind of at best. And it seemed like towards the end of his time in AEW, he was trying too hard. It just felt like he was trying too hard. You know, with that match with Andrade where he lit himself on fire.
Whoa, hold on a second. That match was awesome. What are you talking about? That was great.
Awesome, but it felt like a situation where I need to endear myself to the fans. I'm gonna do this crazy spot.
Oh man, I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. It was more like I want to put on a badass match with a cool moment
to impress fans so they love me again. You know, over the last few weeks, I've noticed there's two distinct Codys. There's the Cody who's relaxed, who's sarcastic, who's not afraid to kind of poke fun at conventions of wrestling, like we saw this week on Raw. That Cody I like fine. When he was in WWE before doing the Dash and Cody Rhodes stuff, that was wildly entertaining. Then there's the Cody that takes himself too seriously, that can be a bit self-indulgent. That's the Cody that I don't really care for, and that's the Cody we saw a lot of in AEW because he was on his own island there. And I talk about this match all the time, but it's the match that really soured me on Cody. It was the Face Revolution ladder match, where he was kind of doing, I don't know, it seemed like, I think he's talked about it since then, this kind of is he or isn't he a heel thing. And he was trying to do it subtly, but the thing is I think he was subtle about it in the wrong way. The subtlety was in like the presentation and the motivation. The subtlety should be in the performance. And Cody is many things. Subtle in his performance is rare. He rarely is. And it just didn't work. We had whole conversations about, is Cody like lacking any sort of self-awareness through this entire run in AEW, because he seems completely oblivious to how what he's doing is being taken by the fan base. And it all, like, again, for me, it's that Face Revolution ladder match where the camera was on him while this action's going on in the ring, completely taking your attention away from what you should be paying attention to is who's trying to win this match instead of worried about Cody with some kayfabe injury.
Was that? I'm sorry, let me interrupt you really quick. Was that on pay-per-view or Dynamite? That was on Dynamite, wasn't it?
That's on pay-per-view.
That was on pay-per-view. Okay,
I believe.
Okay, sorry, continue your point. I'm sort of curious now that we've been doing like Meltzer star ratings things. I'm sort of curious what Meltzer gave. I was about to look that up, but please continue your point.
Cody here in chat says, I was at that match, so I assume the one where Cody lit his leg on fire. Said it was more than that, Larson. He was in his hometown. He didn't need cool spots for love.
Dude, that match was fucking awesome.
It was a fun match. Anyways. But now in WWE, he doesn't have to spearhead his own creative. I'm sure he has some input. I'm sure he has a good amount of input. But it's not all on him, it doesn't seem like. And because of that, maybe we'll have a cohesive vision, a plan to where things are going, rather than just kind of like scattershot ideas that don't exactly always come together.
But let me ask you, getting back to the question though.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your stance on Cody is something that is a general sentiment with, or could potentially end up being a general sentiment with the fan base? Do you think, because you've got some very specific things, obviously, with Cody, and yet when I look at the even when I acknowledge, because you and I both acknowledged and that's also the difference between you and I, is that I appreciate sort of the corniness. I appreciate the superheroics when Cody has a quote unquote titanium cast, and very tongue in cheek, you and I will debate, the silliness of the titanium cast. That being said, I appreciate that stuff. The crowd seems to eat it up. And dude, I'm telling you, he is more over now than he's ever been.
Could be.
And I don't know if that's going to change unless, and I think the loss to Brock and that performance, I think that's like calculated losses are incredibly smart. Yeah. That'll go a long way. But I just think that his situation here in WWE versus his situation in AEW, because they're so vastly different, I just don't know if that crowd's going to turn on. But having seen it happen in AEW, you see a template for it, you see the blueprint, you see the precedents, you've seen it happen before. Do you think that the general crowd, when you look at the crowd and how they react to him, which isn't always on par with what you and I react to,
no,
do you see that being a danger for Cody's run as a babyface?
Not necessarily, because I don't think, like I said, I don't think he's the one that's driving this ship. He has a role. in leading his creative, I'm sure, but it's not solely his responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I think because of that, if it's a collaborative process between him and Triple H and whoever in creative to determine where his story is going, then hopefully it'll be a situation where maybe they have a creative has a vision, something laid out, and then he could throw out ideas for the details. Mm-hmm, yeah. And then collaboratively they can make that all work and come together.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I mean, he's incredibly over. I feel like at this juncture it would take an enormous fumble to blow this amount of goodwill that Cody has right now. Not to say it's not possible; it could be. But I at this juncture, in the short term, I'd be pretty surprised if it were going to happen. It'd have to get to like Lul Cena wins territory,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We're like, if Super Cody does something again.
Yeah. Which I feel like they're going to avoid. If you notice, like a lot of the Bianca chatter when it comes to that has sort of quieted down since the Asuka win, but I feel like they were in danger of that happening, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see them course correct or not. If that happens with Cody, 3 3/4 stars for that match, for the latter match there from Dave Meltzer. It didn't give me the blurb. I didn't look at the actual newsletter. Just to
search for it. Yeah.
The
match being all right, except for Cody taking the spotlight.
Well, it was an interesting. I'll put it this way, because I was just as critical as you were back then on it. And a lot of the conversation we had about that was, why is he doing this? Like, is he self-aware or is he not self-aware? Is he doing some weird new thing? Yeah. Playing with the conventions of pro wrestling. And I do kind of wonder if it was just a directorial misfire where they did a little too much of a decent idea. Hey, Cody's out of this, and that's a story. So if there's a bunch of action going on in the foreground that people are paying attention to, the eagle-eyed viewers can sort of see what's going on in the background. Isn't a terrible idea. It's just an execution. It was like, why are we still watching this guy?
Exactly.
Why are they bending over backwards to do this? Anyways, let's move on to the next question here. We have a good one from Blake Whitehouse, and Blake Whitehouse made the thumbnail today and the title because I couldn't resist, Larson. I couldn't resist the new Roman Reigns render for the .com where he's got that mustard title right there. And of course, we've got Bruno Sammartino next to him, because Blake's question is, now that there are two world titles and Roman's on a part-time schedule. Good. He's on the tribal chief setup. Let's get it clear.
Yeah.
That's nobody else, especially
that's the verbiage,
and including Seth Rollins, just so we're clear. Could WWE be daring enough to have Roman break Bruno's record? He says, I get it's still a while away, but with Triple H's goal of breaking new records, it seems entirely possible. Larson, do you know what year it would have to be for that to happen?
So he's 3 years into it now, right? Roughly almost 3 years. Be 3 years about after SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I think he'd need about 5 more.
He would need to go until 2031.
Yeah. No, he's 3 years in it. Bruno's first reign was a little short of 8 years. He's 3 years in that 8 years Roman is right now.
It was so Bruno's was 20. How long was Bruno's?
It was just a little bit under 8 years.
Hold on, 365. It was just under 8 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's 2,803, I think, is what I saw, minus 1,000 divided by 365. Yeah, you're right. It'd be 5 years. Yeah, you're right.
About 5 more.
So it would actually
it'd be till 2028. Yeah.
2028. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I know Roman's got the Roman setup that will help him extend the title reign. I mean, I know they want to reshape the record book, update it with modern performers. 8 years is a long time, and so long as he's bloodline Roman, I feel like he's going to hold that belt until someone takes it off him and they start the end of the bloodline story. I can't imagine that being 5 years from now, because Roman's going to have Hollywood call him. He's going to have opportunities galore outside of wrestling. And for anybody, especially Roman is nearing 40, the prospect of making better money, sun's blasting into your better money without to take any bumps, that's attractive. I just feel like the industry is way different now, where you people don't stick around. well past 40 generally. People do from time to time, but there's how many people that have started wrestling within the last, I don't know, 20 years or are still wrestling in their 50s? It just doesn't happen as often. People realize, hey, I'm going to parlay my success in the wrestling world to other endeavors outside of wrestling, so my body is not like all broken down by the time I'm middle-aged. Mm-hmm. Just finish watching the Magnum TA Dark Side of the Ring. It's interesting because he talked about in there, he's going to have his world title run. He was going to retire at 30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to go do NASCAR after this.
That's cool.
I know. So, I mean, back then, especially back in the 80s, you wrestled until the wheels came off. Mm-hmm. And for him to have, a vision of what he wanted to do after he had his world title run, I thought was interesting anyways. There's going to be a tons of opportunities for Roman Reigns over the next 5 years that are going to be really attractive, I would imagine, to him, that I would be surprised if he didn't pursue. And that might, along with other things, curtail the length of his reign. Is it impossible? No, absolutely not. If he has the willingness to do it and he can stay healthy and they can keep stories interesting with him as champion, which is kind of the most important part of it, it's possible. But I mean, honestly, I feel like the goal is to get past maybe Hogan's reign in the 80s. Mm-hmm. If he tops out at 1,500 and then drops the belt, I wouldn't be shocked then. But Bruno, it's not impossible, but I would think highly unlikely.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's possible, but highly unlikely. I don't think it's impossible. I think that if the business continues to reap the rewards of this bloodline storyline, and this is the big caveat, they're able to keep it compelling. Mm-hmm. Roman's schedule is kind of interesting because I don't know, how old is Roman? He's got to be like 30s.
He's in his
now?
late 30s, I think.
I think he's late 30s at this point.
36, 37, something like that.
Does anybody know how old, if Chad has this, because we're in the middle of a conversation right now. Bruno was born in 35. Do you know what year his reign started? Was it 68?
63.
Oh, it was 63. So if he was 35, he would have been 28 when he started it.
Yeah, because it went from 63 to 71. His first reign went.
Okay, so he was around 28 when he started it.
Sorry, Roman's 38 right now,
and Roman is already 10 years past that. So Roman, it was like a 7-year difference there, I guess. So yeah, I mean, everything you said is true. Everything you said is true. I really don't have much to add to it. I mean, it'd be kind of shocked. I'm shocked that they've been able to get this much out of the bloodline story, and it's still really good. I mean, the only other comparison I have is like you look at, and I know it's just apples to whatever, to Whoppers, it's apples to completely. But like when you look at like really good TV shows like Breaking Bad, that lasted like whatever 5 or 6 years, and they're able to keep that compelling. And granted, completely different situation, but fictional narrative television where Roman Reigns does take breaks, and he's able to take breaks. Yeah. They're able to tell compelling stories over a long period of time. Nobody's ever done it for that long in wrestling. But yeah, 5 more years is a really, really long time. But the temptation is going to be there from the WWE. The temptation is totally going to be there. But yeah, I don't know if it's really, really good, then I'm all for it. I don't think whether a guy has a title or not have a title, that doesn't dictate whether or not something's boring to me, or I don't get wrestled if somebody has a title. Can you keep it interesting? That's the bottom line for me. Can you keep it interesting? That's a tall task. That's a tall task.
It really is. I'm trying to get the exact number of days that Hogan had it from 84 to 88. Because I would not be surprised if that's...
Wasn't it like 4? I think it was like 1,400.
It's 1,474 days.
Okay, yeah.
So he's only 470 some days away from that.
I mean, I don't know what they would consider that. I mean, like what is the big headline you can put on that? Because like 1,000 days is like a clean headline. Beating Bruno's reign is a big headline. Yeah. Hogan's already like Hogan is closer. Hogan's reign is like closer to Bruno's reign than like Roman's is to Hogan's, I think, at this point. Hogan's came like 10 years after Bruno's ended. Roman's this one's like 40 years after. So it's not like they can say, oh, he beat the Modern day. He already beat whatever modern day record
Yeah,
you want
it was
to
Brock.
consider.
Brock had the title like 500 days.
Okay, yeah.
And then Punk had it for 400 or whatever.
I mean, Hogan's name is a big name to throw.
Yeah,
Oh, he beat Hogan's reign. But it's not like they really can. I mean, with Hogan, it's just Hogan. It's like he had a number of reigns.
I mean, maybe they can do something like Roman has the second longest reign in WWE history.
Yeah. Well, even that, Backlund had it longer than. Backlund had it longer than Hogan. Hogan, I think, is like the fourth.
Oh yeah, Backlund had it for 2,135 days.
Yeah. So I don't
third.
know. The name Hogan is a headline. It's Roman B. If they want to start making a thing out of Hogan's reign, they can do that. But yeah,
whether they decide to move the goalpost to make it the modern era,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like I was kind of surprised that they really cared about 1,000 days, but in retrospect, no, it makes sense. In retrospect, it totally makes sense.
That's something no one's done since the 80s. So
yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyways, before we continue on to the next question, Larson, would you like to pay some bills?
Let's do it. Let's take a quick break here. Get a word from our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. Steve, I mentioned this yesterday. I mentioned the day before. It's dawned on me. I probably had more than my fair share of accidents in my life. Whether it be car accident or 2 or 3 maybe, or getting attacked by a stray dog or pulling a muscle while bowling. I got to say, had my fair share of mishaps.
Accidents happen, man. It just seems like they happen a little bit more often to you, but better you than me, I suppose, Larson.
You're telling me you had any accidents in your life? No mishaps?
Not a one.
No pratfalls?
No, but come on. How many people have pulled their groin bowling, man? Come on
That's
now.
what I'm trying to say, though. That's what I'm trying to get at. Accidents can and do happen. I've been lucky that I haven't gotten really injured due to any of my accidents, but accidents can happen at any time, and you can be injured because of those accidents when you least expect it. And if you ever find yourself injured, you can check out America's largest injury law firm with over 100 offices nationwide, Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan has a proven record of getting their clients full and fair compensation. They've recovered, get this, Steve, more than $15 billion for their clients.
My goodness. And Morgan & Morgan makes it easy to submit a claim. It's more like ordering takeout than hiring a lawyer. In 8 clicks or less, you can submit your claim, and you can do it without having to leave your couch. So if you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/raw or dial #law. That's #529 from your cell phone.
That's forthepeople.com/raw or #law, #529 from your cell. This is a paid advertisement.
Clown here has a rise. This sad teaches me never to stand next to Larson because bad things happen. I've been next to you quite a bit, and calamity.
It's not a constant. No, a piano. You never had a piano fall on you, so
it's more like you sometimes you get your front row to like a twisted ankle, a sprained ankle.
What, you've never twisted your ankle before?
Like being old, my ankle just hurts, but I don't think it was one thing. I've never actually sprained my ankle. No.
Oh my!
I've been free of calamity for quite a while now.
Wow.
It's quite remarkable. Wow. Like the worst that's ever happened is I think I might have broke my pinky toe once. I certainly split it in half. That was disgusting. Anyways,
let's move on to our next question before you belittle me further. Michael Razor Starks here asks, after the whole Bloodline saga is finished, where would Roman rank amongst the greatest heel champions? First, I think we'd establish best heel champions.
Triple H.
Yeah. Probably Ric Flair.
Yeah,
in his prime.
Probably Piper would be up there.
Well, he was never world champion.
Oh, God, you're right. Yeah, you're right. He should have been. God, he should have been. Heel champions. Well, The Rock was a pretty darn good heel champion in his day.
That's true.
People love The Rock.
What about Hollywood Hogan?
Oh, man. Yeah, that's huge. Dude, it's funny because, yes, I understand Roman's a bad guy. I get that. But I feel like these days you don't really think about it. And especially because, hey, here's the thing. They're still going to turn him face at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how or when, or if he's still going to be champion when they do that. Because I kind of feel like in order to be a face, you have to lose the title and then chase it again.
Yeah, he needs his redemption arc.
That being said, when I think of Roman, like historically speaking, in like 10 years or whatever, he's simply going to go down as like a generation defining champion, you know, as like, oh my God, that reign was crazy. And it featured the best storytelling in wrestling, as opposed to, he was like, when I think of Triple H, I think, man, this dude used to use sledgehammers. He would bully refs. And it's like, I know Roman Reigns uses the bloodline and everything, but really more than anything, he's just a compelling character to me.
I know. And like with Flair, he was wrestling 8 times a week. I almost said 8 days a week. 8 times a week, you know, time limit draws all over the country.
Time now? Yeah.
Yeah, I go to Ibushi time, 25 hours in a day, you know.
There you go.
Gives you an extra day by the end of the week. You know, with Flair, it was just, he was wrestling time limit draws all across the country every day.
Yeah.
You know, and you think about the work that went into his various runs as champ. You know, sure, Ric Flair cut some great heel promos, but it wasn't like he was involved in an intricate story that spanned several years.
Yeah.
Like Roman is. That's the difference.
Yeah. Like when it comes to bad guys, though, like, I don't know. Roman, to me, he's just he's just an interesting character. He really is. And I don't see him as like a bad guy. I see him as a guy just rife with insecurity issues and betrayal and trust issues.
Yep.
Which is just interesting to me, as opposed to like when I think of bad guys, like I think of, there's like 3 names that sort of come to mind in fiction. It's like Darth Vader, Anton Chigurh, Anton Chigurh is just an unrelenting force of nature. He's like not even man, really. He's just like bad guy.
He's like death personified, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And then like Biff Tannen. Those are great bad guys right there. But yeah, in terms of like all-time bad guys, to me, Triple H is like number 1, or at least in the modern era of WWE. It's like that guy was he was just a piece of shit. Whereas Roman Reigns is like, the best bad guys are the guys that you kind of feel for.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I understand where Roman's coming from. The dude needs, he needs some help, man. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's just going to go down as like one of the greatest champions, like because he's been at the forefront of this great story for so long.
Yeah. Definitely one of the most interesting, compelling champions from a character perspective and from a storyline perspective as well.
Orton, yeah. People in chat are mentioning Orton. Oh, what a son of a bitch.
Yeah, prime heel Orton.
Guy.
Yeah, he's putting everybody.
Brock even. But Brock also sort of falls into, my God, he was just one of the best that ever did it, you know?
Yeah. And Brock is legit scary. Like, if you're around him, he is legit scary.
Yeah, so, right.
Like, his presence, he's huge, he's imposing.
Oh, yeah.
You just feel the weight of his presence when you're in the room with him. You
know that he just doesn't want to deal with people.
Yeah. It really feeds into the idea when he's playing a heel that he is awful. But yeah, with Roman, and that's what makes it so interesting, is that it's more complex than just he's a terrible human being.
Yeah,
you know, he's a deeply flawed human being. He has his own sense of morals. Are they in line with a lot of people? Maybe not.
Yeah,
but when you get into his character, you understand why his worldview is what it is.
The motivation behind Roman Reigns makes all the sense in the world, whereas when you look at guys like Triple H and Randy Orton, the 2 big names that we sort of mentioned, it's just, they're just sons of bitches, you know? It's like they're just bad people. And it's not, I mean, look, I know there's plenty of bad people in the world, but it's not entirely relatable, because it's like, why are you such a piece of shit, you know? With Roman,
you understand Roman's motivation behind basically everything he does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You understand how he views the world. Don't agree with it.
Yeah.
But you understand.
Yeah, right.
And that's what makes it interesting and captivating. Bad guy, villain, whatever, is if you can understand their motivations.
For sure. Yeah.
We got a question here for, I'm probably gonna get this name wrong.
Here, tag me and I'll do it.
Go ahead. Tia Qatar?
Tia Qatar? Yeah.
Tia Qatar? Yeah, that sounds good. Says a lot of people say the Bloodline is the best story in history. I personally think it's Shawn Michaels and Triple H versus The Undertaker streak. That was good.
That was a good one.
What do you think is the best story in wrestling ever? I think we both agree Bloodline is, if it's not the best, it's one of the top 3 best. Let's set Bloodline aside.
Sure, of course.
That's one of the best. And we still have to wait to see how if they nail the landing, whatever that is. Put that aside since it's ongoing. other wrestling stories that could be in contention for best wrestling story ever.
So I actually saw a tweet that sort of with the same prompting, like, hey, the Bloodline is like, this has got to be the best thing ever, right?
Yeah.
And none of the responses, none of the replies that I saw really like laid out a good case as to why it's not Bloodline. But some of those responses, and this is the first one that I'm going to mention is an interesting one because I want to go back and look at it again. But a lot of people said Evolution between 02 and 05. And there is I think that when I went back and looked at, I think you and I talked about it like on a count or something relatively recently. It might have been a Mania thing. I don't know. But when you see what Triple H did with Evolution, you can see that, yeah, I could see that in terms of like, especially the modern era, you know, from post 2000, whatever. It absolutely makes a case for it. You know, what he did, but they made Randy Orton, they made Batista, you know, Flair had his second run there, and it was a continual story that they told for 3 years. And I think that really needs to get some recognition. Obviously the NWO, you know, I went back, I was looking at a Nitro from like 97 the other day, 98, it was early 98. It was like the first Nitro in 98. And, you know, the end of, people say that the NWO spun their wheels a lot and it sort of got boring quickly. But if you remember, there's actually quite a few twists and turns there and a lot of like, oh, is the NWO falling apart? Are they okay? Et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not going to say it was all the most compelling thing in the world, but they actually did some pretty cool stuff with the NWO and the personalities involved. So I think those two probably deserve some recognition.
I'm very curious to know how the Gargano Ciampa story in NXT would have played out if not for injury. Because when it was going and going well, at the time I thought this is tops, because it wasn't just I don't like you, you don't like me, we're gonna have matches. There was like depth to it. There was moments that harken back to other moments. Like a knee brace was a metaphor, a symbol, you know, and that level of detail in a wrestling story, I don't think we had seen before, and I don't know if I really think we've seen it since, except for maybe a couple of examples. You know, for example, the Hangman Elite story in AEW and the Bloodline story.
Yeah.
Where it's not just I don't like you, you don't like me, we're going to wrestle. There's weightier, meatier stuff going on there about the relationships between people. So that's high up there. In a way, a precursor to that, and I understand the storytelling was way different back then, but Hogan and Macho Man.
Yeah, sure.
The Mega Powers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's always mentioned as one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's valid. Absolutely, it is. Yeah, I think if you go back even further, and again, this is the kind of thing I'd like to sort of see exactly how it played out, to see how it translates to sort of what I know as wrestling storytelling these days. And it's San Martino and Larry Zbyszko. You know, I thought there's probably, like, to look at the crowd reaction and how they told that story is probably going to be interesting to go back and look at. But I know a lot of people really fixated on that as, like, you know, some good storytelling from back in the day.
Definitely.
But no, also when people talk about, you know, Triple H, Shawn, and The Undertaker, I think that.
Yeah, that's great stuff. 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
absolutely, 4 years of story.
Yeah.
Culminating in end of era, one of, if not the best match ever.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Chris Louie's question here. Steve, I'm going to ask this to you.
Okay.
Will CM Punk make a difference in AEW viewership? Give me a one-word answer.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, he will pop a rating at least week 1, in which case the answer is yes. The question is, what happens week 6, week 7, week 8? Will he still be there? Will anybody give a shit? The early returns on, in terms of like what metric we have, ticket sales, Chicago, yay, everywhere else, nay, which I think to me translates to week 1, yay, week 6, I don't know.
Yeah.
In terms of the ratings.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, people are going to be curious about what he is going to do when he comes back. And so that first week, yeah, it'll pop a number as much as it will on Saturday night at prime time. But yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 weeks afterwards, is there going to be any staying power? And the only metric we have now is ticket sales. Ticket sales tell us no. That people are curious. People in Chicago specifically are curious what he's going to do that first day. Seemingly in Hamilton, Ontario, couldn't give less of a shit.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Under 1,000 tickets, I think, still sold for that Collision.
Yeah.
But, part of that, too, is, I mean, AEW booked like 4 shows within the same metropolitan area, Toronto, Hamilton, like they're hour apart within like 2 weeks. And that's just bad. That's just a terrible idea. You're oversaturating that market. People don't know what Collision is going to be yet.
Yeah, true.
They don't know if it's going to be, a 2-hour Rampage. And so why am I going to drop? Seemingly the tickets are kind of pricey too, like $100 for the upper deck. I'm going to drop money on to see a B show on a Saturday night when I could be out doing better things.
Yeah.
So without people knowing what Collision is quite going to be yet, I understand people maybe not that eager to plop down their hard-earned money for a show that just kind of is CM Punk and friends. I get it.
If you oversaturate a market and your product isn't hot, then you're going to get the results that warrants. And that's the bottom line. If they really load up Collision, if they make it compelling stuff, if they give us like cliffhanger TV, then yeah. And hopefully they do that. I want it to succeed. I really do. I want to, because look, we watch this stuff for a living. And I want to, every second of what I'm watching, I want it to be compelling stuff. But they need to really put the work in for that to happen.
Yep. They can't just put Punk on the show and expect it to be a draw.
Right. Exactly.
It might work for a week or two. After that, you got to actually tell some stories and showcase some captivating characters. And that's something that AEW's kind of struggled with.
Mr. Dope says they barely go to Dynamite now. Why go to a show that's on Saturday? Look, man, we want to go to the bars, on Saturdays.
I know. Why go do karaoke on a Saturday night?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Go to a wrestling show. Unless it's ACW.
Yeah, dude. Action Coast Wrestling, August 5th. That's right. Same day as that, small fry show, SummerSlam. That don't matter to us.
Stadium wrestling.
Stadium wrestling is for chumps. The new thing is smaller venues. Action Coast Wrestling, August 5th. Same day as SummerSlam, but right after SummerSlam, so you can watch most of SummerSlam, skip the main event, and then head straight over to
Roman's going to win anyway, so...
Roman wins again.
So, bypass that. ACW.
You're right,
12.
Exactly.
It's 12th anniversary show.
It's 12, yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
12th anniversary show. All right, moving on. Mondo Vulgare here asks, I keep seeing people criticize the mere concept of Forbidden Door for not having enough storyline build or putting much effort into introducing the New Japan wrestlers to the AEW audience, but is there anything inherently wrong with putting on one show a year that is specifically targeted? You want to say targeted, Steve?
Targeted.
Thank you, to a more diehard wrestling fans. Does every show need to make an effort to appeal to casual fans?
No! I saw this also. That's a stupid idea, man. Come on. By the way, Heather Wright, I appreciate this. She says, I'd rather go to wrestling on a Saturday night. I don't care for clubs. Well, Heather, come out to Action Coast Wrestling. Anyways, no, look, man, here's the thing. You got cable TV 3 times a week, right? You got Rampage, Collision, you got Dynamite. They hype it up on all the Turner networks. They hype up your AEW, and you sign a ton of former WWE names. You're bringing back CM Punk. I think AEW can do a lot more to appeal to casual fans, to appeal to other demographics, especially. We've talked about that here on the show, right? So I'm not going to defend that, they're doing everything they can to appeal to casuals, but they've got that box checked to the best that they're willing to do it. I'll put it that way. Again, they could do better.
Oh, yes.
But you can have your cake and eat it too. The Forbidden Door is once a year, and it's a bunch of dream matches for the core AEW audience. A bunch of wrestling nerds who pay attention to New Japan and other stuff. So, yeah, you need to be doing both. You need to appeal to your hardcore audience, who most of which last year, and I didn't agree with this, thought that Forbidden Door was the best show of the year. I saw that sentiment out there a lot.
Yeah, did too.
And I don't know, it might have even topped the Wrestling Observer's show of the year thing.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know, but I know it was up there. And so, yeah, no, you got to do both. You got your casuals, you got your hardcores. You got to try to get after both of them. And it's not like they're only doing Forbidden Door type stuff. And no, honestly, you don't need stories for Forbidden Door, because guess what? Danielson versus Okada, who's the best in the world? There's your story done.
That's the
story.
You know
what I mean? Right.
That's the story.
Or if they did something like Orange Cassidy versus Yano, I don't need a story for that. They're going to tell a great story in the ring. No, you don't need stories going to Forbidden Door. I think Forbidden Door is an awesome concept. And I even advocated in the last episode that we did that they should turn Rampage every Friday night into Forbidden Door, because that's what they did this past Friday. It was a bunch of other companies and AEW talent. I think it's a great concept to get the word out on other wrestling. Watching Wrestle Kingdom back in 2017, the first New Japan show I've ever watched. Oh my God, that opened my eyes to so much stuff. Made me want to get into New Japan, but also a bunch of other stuff out there. It opened the door for a lot of stuff. Yeah. So no, I think that Forbidden Door, you don't need to tell stories leading to Forbidden Door. It's the matches that matter. It's the matchups that matter. It's the dream matchups. It's like Marvel and DC. I don't even know what the story for the Amalgam universe was. I didn't care.
No, you saw the amalgam of what? Batman and Wolverine?
Right, exactly.
Got you excited, at least until you opened the comic book.
Dark Claw.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of crap.
I mean, right now when AEW is struggling to sell tickets, Forbidden Door is basically sold out already.
Yeah.
It's the one show a year that AEW puts on as guaranteed to generate excitement from their hardcore fan base.
Yeah.
Because it's Dream Match Central.
Yeah.
We're getting Okada and Danielson. Never thought it. I mean, they were like 3 years ago. I never thought we'd see this match. Never.
Yeah.
And now we're getting it. I would like, obviously Omega and Ospreay is kind of an outlier because there's a story that they've been telling on and off for several months without.
Yeah, sure.
That this will kind of be the culmination of, I believe. But with Okada and Danielson, who's the best? It's enough for me.
Yeah, right.
Because in the ring, they're going to tell an amazing story.
Yeah.
And yeah, is it an exhibition card? Yeah. And that's fine. Yeah. Sometimes that's fine just to have matchups you never thought you would ever see.
Yeah.
That's enough of a draw into itself.
Yeah.
And if you could take the excitement that your core fan base has for that, get the word of mouth going on around wrestling circles, people talking this show up. Well, then maybe some people who may not be that aware of what New Japan is doing, or even AEW for that matter, might be like, "Oh, this is a huge deal. Maybe I should check it out."
Yeah.
You know, if catering this show to a more casual fan is not what his intention is, getting us a buzz. I mean, that's the whole point of doing Forbidden Door. It's a cool factor.
Yeah.
Get people talking about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And if you get some casual wrestling fans that hear about it, be like, "Oh, wow, there's dream matchups. Oh, Daniel Bryan's wrestling somebody that people are telling me is one of the best wrestlers in the world. I might check that out."
I just don't. I legitimately do not understand the sentiment of they don't attempt to reach casual fans. I don't get that, because it's like, why would they be plunking down so much money for CM Punk? What does CM Punk bring to the table? He theoretically brings people who've lapsed from wrestling. Why would you spend so much money on that? Like, you don't have to do that. If you wanted to only appeal to hardcore fans, then you only stick with guys like the Elite. Like, why would you sign former WWE names if you're not trying to reach a broader audience? I just don't understand. What should they be doing to reach casual fans if you don't think that's the situation? Like, if you don't think they're trying to do that right now,
yeah,
what suggestions would somebody have to say,
more
they should be doing this? Yeah, celebrities. Like, do you want more celebrities? I don't understand.
Yeah,
they have a cable TV deal. They've got advertisements on cable TV. They signed former WWE names.
Yeah.
In addition to pulling from the independent scene, I don't understand. Like, I don't get it.
I mean, you could disagree with their approach to appealing to a larger fan base, and as you mentioned, but I mean, the effort is there. Is it the best approach? No, but the effort's there.
Yeah, and I think they could do better in other aspects of that.
Definitely,
but like, in terms of like a broad plan of like, okay, how are we going to reach people who are more casual fans of WWE or of wrestling? Which is, come on, this is WWE.
Yeah,
you signed former WWE guys. They've done that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yep. Mayor Planet Houston here asks, who should be MJF's opponent for the AEW Championship at Forbidden Door? I'll put one name out there. I think it'd be good.
Wait, hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say.
All right.
I don't know who you're going to say. Who are you going to say?
Your old dad has it. Tetsuya Naito.
thought for a second you were say your old dad. No, Naito's great. Yeah, he could take a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So Punk is probably going to do Tanahashi, I would imagine.
You would think, yeah.
I don't know. Who are some other names there?
Okada's got Danielson already.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
They're not. I doubt
they're not
going to
do Sonata.
No, I doubt they would do that.
Like MJF should probably win that one. Yeah, Sonata. That's an interesting case. I don't know who else is like still around there, like in a prominent position. Who's their mid card guy? Like they're not gonna do like David Finlay.
No.
Isn't he? Is he like he's the never guy right now?
Yeah, he is. But I mean, that'd be heel versus heel, and they're not going to do that.
Yeah, nobody else has any ideas here. Naito. Yeah, Naito's the answer.
Naito is the answer.
Yeah,
Naito is the answer. Or if Yano's not going to take on Orange Cassidy, then give us MJF and Yano. Let's do a 15-minute comedy match.
I'd love it. I think it'd be great.
I think that'd be great too. Oh, wait, maybe Shingo.
Shingo, yeah, I just saw that favorite customer says Shingo. Shingo's that's a good name. He's a former champion.
Yeah,
just
I think he's still the KOPW belt holder currently. I think. I could be wrong though.
He's the provisional guy.
Yeah.
Is it still a provisional thing?
Well, I think it's the title now. It's defended like a title.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
They don't have the trophy.
Gotcha.
Deep voice dude here asks, what stipulation would you like Brock versus Cody at SummerSlam to have? One serious answer, one goofy answer.
So the rumor right now, I think Wrestling Observer said it's going to be a Stages of Hell match. Is that what? Had you heard that one?
I've heard that. I've heard people talk about it.
Okay, I don't even know what that. What, Larson? What is the stage? The 3 stages.
It ends in Hell in a Cell. Isn't it like a
Have they done this before?
It was Stone Cold and Triple H did it, I think, once.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was. I think it's like a no DQ match, a cage match, then Hell in a Cell. I think
too much. Oh, here we go. There's only been 5, according to whatever this is. There's only been 5 of its kind in WWE history, originating in early 2001. Yeah, so Triple H, Stone Cold, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton versus Triple H, John Cena versus Ryback. What? And then Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. They did it?
Well, theirs was best 2 out of 3 falls. That's the one where Gargano basically got hit by a New York City bus and still.
I remember this. They did like there were stipulations
for each fall, but
right,
yeah.
It was standard street fight, then steel cage. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So none of these actually ended in Hell in a Cell. One of them ended in a steel cage. One of them ended in a ladder. One of them ended in a stretcher. One of them ended in an ambulance match. So, yeah. I don't know. That's fine. Whatever that is. I say Inferno match. What if Brock is terrified of fire?
Advantage Cody then.
Terrified. Just terrified.
I mean, maybe it not only is his cast made of titanium, maybe it's also fireproof.
Yeah. That could be. What if he has like a full body titanium cast?
There you go.
He's just Iron Man at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's a cool stipulation? Like I liked the dog collar. Here's the thing. Cody's he's more like he's leaner than he was. I watched the reveal of his busted pec. I forgot just how he was bloaty big back then. He was not bloated, but he was thick back then. He's a little leaner these days.
He is.
And I don't know if a dog collar match or whatever it was that had been shot. The rumor was somebody shot down.
That pitch was rejected. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. Brock is it's got to be something where Cody can realistically beat Brock, because you can't match him on strength. Brock is ridiculously huge.
Yeah, I know. Cody needs to use his guile and his smarts.
Right, exactly. Yeah. How about
his godlike powers?
So you can either do a flag match.
No.
Or the 4 corners one. I think it's a bull rope, isn't it? Where you do the 4 corners.
Yeah, you touch all 4 corners in succession. No.
Yeah, that's stupid.
No, thank you. No, thank you. SummerSlam's in Detroit. What's it like?
Car match.
Have it like in an old car factory or something like that.
Oh, that's good. Do a cinematic, yeah.
Yeah, do a cinematic deal.
Well, what's the one? Didn't Dustin do a match where he was in the back of a truck?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Do that one. That's terrible. And probably not terribly safe.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. No good answers there.
No good answer. I know, because
just do it in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah,
just
I know.
Do the damn thing in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like Remorse Betrayal here says an I quit match. Brock's not going to say I quit. He's not.
No, he's not.
It's not believable for him
Even
to say
in
I
Last
quit.
Man Standing, they had to like literally pile a bunch of shit.
I know.
Yeah.
Before we get to the next question, if you're watching this live on YouTube on the VOD, if you could,
Oh, yeah.
hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button, please. If you're new here to Going in Raw, you like what you hear, hit the subscribe, notify bell. We're new to this. Hear good things happen when all that stuff happens. So, yeah, that'd be cool. Thank you.
Only the cream hits the like button and the subscribe button and the notify bell too.
We got a membership here from MPR.
Oh, yeah.
MPR says R.I.P. Sheiky baby.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about that. Iron Sheik passed away at the age of, I believe, 81.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun watching his old shoot interviews. These days probably haven't aged terribly well, if I recall correctly. But a lot of funny moments from those two. My favorite is when Sean Oliver pointed out the Iron Sheik's engorged boner during his match with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And Iron Sheik just said, yeah, look at me, oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man, but an absolute legend in the sport, man. I mean, he was, I was first sort of like made aware of wrestling, I think either through like Rocky 3 and Thunder Lips or the Rock and Wrestling cartoon show. Like before I even knew that it was like wrestling was a thing, I was like, oh, what is this cartoon show? They're wrestlers. That's cool. And of course he was, one of the main antagonist, I think, on that. But no, just an absolute legend. So
yeah.
And of course his second career is a guy with a social media account that's pretty funny.
Yeah. Patrick Kennedy has a question here about Iron Sheik. So just heard about Iron Sheik's passing. What was your favorite Iron Sheik Twitter moment? Oh,
I don't know. Probably when he's talking shit about Hulk Hogan.
That's
any
it.
of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Calling him a jabroni, fuck Hulk Hogan, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Louis Ariza here asks, what are some of the craziest wrestling conspiracy theories you have ever heard? Which ones turned out to be true?
Ultimate Warrior was a different person.
Yeah, that's
he
right.
Was played by several people.
Yeah.
Like he came back. Yeah, that's probably one of the weirdest. Because it's like nowadays when you look at it, it's like, that's ridiculous. No, you can see like every time he comes back, it's just Jim Hellwig.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty, his face paint would always come off. You can just see it's him.
It's just, it's Jim Hellwig. Apparently I looked into this. There was various people playing Kane. It wasn't always Glenn Jacobs.
I read that one too somewhere, but I couldn't find any source, any origin for that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I looked into that too, and I couldn't see anything that
my favorite is that Sid crapped his pants at WrestleMania 13.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, poop in the pants is always a good one. That's always a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if there's any other.
Oh, of course, the Montreal Screwjob was a work.
Right. Yeah, that's probably like the biggest one, which I think is still like. I personally don't think that. I don't believe that at all. If it is, what a masterful thing to have the documentary crew there.
I know.
And what a masterful performance by everybody there as it's captured on film. I mean, that shit would deserve an Oscar if that was a performance.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
If it wasn't for that, there might be some more validity to that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I don't know, maybe. Russo being sent to, I mean, you want something that's legit. Russo being sent to WCW to bring down the company.
Yeah.
Just see how much dog shit his creative was there. That's believable. That's totally believable. Because, like, mission accomplished.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah.
Let's lightning round some other questions here. Brent here says, when watching other sports, do you refer to non-star players whose names you don't really know as depth guys?
No, not yet, but I might now.
The thoughts in your head now, huh?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Could be.
No, I generally know. If I watch a team, especially for any amount of time, I get to know who the players are.
Yeah, I feel bad like calling like I don't know, Trey Lyles a depth guy, you know?
Yeah. Dank Meme Center. Sorry. Do you think AEW Fight Forever would be a commercial success, or a counterfeit version of prior THQ games?
Can it be somewhere between?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it'd be somewhere in between.
I think it's gonna be somewhere in between. I don't think it's gonna be like an overwhelm. I don't think it's gonna beat the sales on 2K20,
No.
WWE 2K or something like that. But I think it'll do pretty well. I mean, it should.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. Bucket Dipper. Who do you think has the better Hey Von Wagner
Hey
or
Stone.
Baron Corbin?
Hey It's Von Wagner.
Yeah.
He's perfected it. Von Wagner's taken all of the goofiness of Baron Corbin, and he's just a concentrated wrestler. He's like that concentrated, you know.
I know.
Hey, Dijak, take those sunglasses off. You're inside.
Hey, Joe Blow.
Joe, who? Joe Blow. Hey, Stone.
DJ Mott, with Triple H continued push for more factions, WWE, who else would you guys want to see Alpha Academy? Join Alpha Academy.
Street Profits split, Angelo Dawkins.
Okay.
I think it'd be great.
All right. Damon Kemp.
Whoa, that would be awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I love Damon Kemp, his work with. I got to watch NXT from this week, man. Damon Kemp talking shit to Eddie Thorpe is my new favorite thing.
So good. Jesse Helsius says, since MJF put over the What Culture podcast at a press conference, what wrestler do you think would endorse going in Raw?
Well, it ain't going to be Von Wagner.
No. No.
Hey, I like when these guys make fun of
me.
Hey.
I
don't know.
Maggie suggests Cody.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Boy, Mike, are you kidding me? Our numbers would skyrocket. We'd be up there with the Cornettes, with the Pritchards, in terms of numbers, not notoriety, Larson.
Yeah. A couple people are saying Chugs.
Chugs, absolutely.
Your good friend Adam Cole.
My good friend Adam Cole. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Is Chugs on a Cameo?
I don't think so, but I could be wrong. Jonathan Vieira, how will Survivor Series look this year with Vince confirmed to be back? War Games or brand versus brand?
You know, man, I get the feeling that like Vince sort of goes along with Triple H's ideas and then just tweaks them to sort of, and I don't know. Obviously, we all know that Vince is a raging egomaniac.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, if you see the direction of like the characters, that's all, it seems like it's all Triple H stuff.
Yeah.
And I just honestly get the feeling that it seems to be collaborative with Triple H kind of like doing the big picture stuff and then Vince chipping in and putting his own flair on it. So I kind of feel like it's going to be what Triple H wants it to be, which is probably going to be War Games again.
War Games, yeah, I would think so. The Savior, 8541, asked, do you think Edge will actually have a run with the World Heavyweight Championship before he retires? No.
No, probably not.
No.
I think it'd be cool, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Austin Hilton. Who do you think will be the last of the bloodline to attack Roman, Jay or Solo?
I mean, it makes sense that'd be Solo.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Jay's going to make a decision.
Jay's probably 2 days away from doing that.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be Solo. Solo's got to be the last one. Cat Dad 7, is Tony Khan becoming a worse booker than Vince? Says, while Vince had decades to be bad, it seems like Tony Khan is already following suit in shorter time with using pointless title changes and big return signings that go nowhere and forgotten about for weeks in order to make up for the lack of good storytelling.
So, I don't know, like, which Vince? What Vince are we talking about? Like, Vince literally created the template for weekly television booking. Like, he perfected it. And then, like, it's just because he got old, like super old, and he wanted to do everything. It fell apart in the last couple of years. Like from 18 on, it was just like, oh my God, this is not very good. He lost his shit. Mm-hmm. And Tony just sort of uses that. I mean, he uses that same template, or he tries to anyways. So I don't know, like historically speaking, it's Vince by a mile. Right now, Vince isn't booking the show 100%. It's more of a collaborative effort. So I don't know if you want to go, if you want to look at both products right now, it seems like the raw gated Triple H Vince scripts are better than the AEW scripts. So you got to go with the Vince and Triple H.
Yep. Where was I? Oh, Timor here asked, can a pre-tape match ever get 5 stars, even though it may have been edited? One example I can think of is Edge versus Orton, greatest match ever at Backlash. Fantastic match, but it is also heavily edited. Would that cause it to lose those ratings points?
From what I understand, it wasn't heavily edited. They had to reshoot some stuff because
that's when Edge got injured, was during the reshoot.
And that's when Edge got injured, yeah. But from what I understand, it wasn't heavily edited.
Oh, there is that one shot where they put the camera in the ring and like fell onto the camera.
Yeah. I don't know. Like a pre-tape match, does it deserve like a proper star rating? Like isn't like, doing it live and flaws and all is kind of part of the impressive feat? I don't know.
Let me ask you this. It's a different situation, but it would require re-editing. Like say there's an older NXT TV taping where they would do reshoots as necessary.
Yeah.
Where they have a really good match, they had to do a reshoot on like one spot, or they botched the finish and so redid it. Mm-hmm. Should that, if it was worthy of being 5 stars as aired, should it be disqualified because they had to change one thing?
I kind of feel like no.
Same.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is that the last question?
No, I'm just trying to think of if there's any analogies that could be made, like other live performances that are taped.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's wrestling. You're telling stories with moves. If it's overly edited and it takes away from the presentation, then yeah, you'd knock it down. If the presentation is kind of crap, but if it's fairly seamless, then what do I care? Yeah,
exactly. Noah here says, with Braun Breaker challenging Seth to defend his title against him at NXT, how long do you think it's going to take before it gets defended on SmackDown? Oh, if anything, Seth will be like, oh, Braun, you want a chance at this? Come to Raw. That'll be...
I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I think they're going to have Seth defend that shit every week. Mm-hmm. Like I kind of feel like that's the plan right now. And yeah, Braun Breaker, absolutely. Yeah. Make him look great. And then probably bring him over straight to SmackDown or Raw or something like that. Yeah.
Clown here asks, if Vegas goes up 3-0, can we get a Friendo watch-along party for Game 4? Rest easy, unfortunately.
When is Game 4?
I don't know. I could check.
Yeah, it's a possibility. We don't have very many events this month, so
no, we don't.
Any opportunity to do so.
Game 4 is scheduled for Saturday evening.
This Saturday evening.
Yeah.
Don't know if I can, but I can look into it.
All right.
I swear I think I've got something going on Saturday evening, but I could be wrong.
Tomorrow's Game 3, and then Game 4 Saturday, and then Game 5 is next Tuesday.
It seems like it's not going to go to a 5. They're just rolling over these fools.
Yeah.
But I guess anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Is that it?
Yep.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for Ask Going In Raw. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.